Welcome to the AI&I show.
I'm Chris Parker, guiding conversations at the edge of humanity and artificial intelligence. And with AI, we are exploring how humanity shapes technology
and how the machines are shaping humanity.
And welcome to AI&I. I am very pleased to be having a conversation with Dr. Ammar Younas, and he is a legal scholar, a philosopher, an entrepreneur who brings an amazing depth of knowledge to the conversation around technology, ethics, culture. Dr. Younas, or Ammar, holds 7 degrees ranging from medicine, finance, law, human rights, Chinese law, and he's currently pursuing a PhD in philosophy of science and technology at the University of Chinese Academy of Sciences. He has his own agency, IMO Innovation Consultants, and we'll give you some information about that at the end. And his work spans AI ethics, digital sovereignty, regulations, human rights, and is regularly published and is speaking globally. One highlight I discovered is he contributed to the AI governance codes, the legislation in Uzbekistan on these topics. And so what I'm delighted about is Ammar will bring in such a different perspective than I have myself. And that's what I'm really seeking on this, is different views on how we can bridge that gap between the man and the machine, the person and the machine, and how can we, embrace and celebrate our humanity while we adopt, the power and the possibilities of AI in the machines. So maybe Ammar, can you kick us off with, you've been in this space for a long time and looking at it from very, very different angles. What in the last 2 years, and I'm couching that like with OpenAI and ChatGPT as a shift, what has really most surprised you, maybe around the world as you're traveling around? What have been the most surprising things that you've seen about how AI is really impacting humanity in the last couple of years? I'm just fascinated to see how you see this shift from your lens.
First of all, thank you very much, Chris, for this wonderful opportunity. I am honored and privileged to contribute to this important discourse. And you have already introduced me and some of the things which I am doing. And I also want to contribute by saying that nowadays I am looking, especially the question which you asked, from 3 big sub-questions. And one of them is that the culture, how the cross-cultural knowledge can contribute to the development of AI, how we can use culture to incentivize artificial intelligence. Similarly, how the new innovation technologies can help us to understand culture. And finally, how we can regulate the new innovation technologies by using culture as an instrument. So the thing which is surprising me the most is that we have such a rich cultural indigenous knowledge, which is often being ignored by some of those individuals who are directly involved in decision making, no matter applied scientists or social scientists. So when I started learning about artificial intelligence, I thought that it is a purely technical, legal subject. But with the passage of time, I realized that it could provide a lens for my own values, for my own biases and hopes to some extent. And this is how AI is revealing itself and surprising me that individuals are becoming more and more mechanic. On the other side, the machines are becoming more and more human-like, and there is no one who is actually trying to keep things clear for the next generations. And surprisingly, uh, applied scientists, when they say that the legal progression is not that advanced as the applied scientists are progressing, I think that both parties should not be competing, but should contribute and substitute each other work, which is not happening. That is surprising for me. So I think that technology is so crucial and has become more than a buzzword. You mentioned about ChatGPT and the DeepSeek and all of these technologies, and on and off we see that when a new technology comes, there is a hype, and with the passage of time, we realize that this is not uh, what the technology can do. So the limitations they are realized at a much later stage when we have already disseminate much information which is technologically and sociologically wrong. So these are couple of surprises which I would say. One more surprising, I think, is that we have already worked on the anthropomorphic body of the robot, and now we are slowly thinking about the robotic consciousness and how it can be more human like. So this can be a future surprise for me, that this benchmark after achieving artificial general intelligence, and to see how close we can design a machine which can perform not only the mechanical work of human at a much better speed, at a much better quality, but also in terms of the sentiments and emotions and the consciousness itself.
Wow. So you've been surprised a lot.
Yeah.
I want to grab onto this cultural thing and maybe just a personal anecdote. I'm married to a amazing Dutch lady, and when I was first getting to know her parents, her father said in a well-intended way, but he just made this kind of side comment that, America, where I come from, has no culture. Um, so I bought him a book on American culture. I said, well, we kind of do. It's just not as old, maybe, in depth, and rich, maybe, as some of these older cultures. I consider the states more adolescent than an older culture, and it behaves like an adolescent a lot. Um, do you think that more established or more historical cultures would help people maintain their own cultural identity? Because sometimes I think because the lack of depth or history in the States, it allows it to shift more rapidly, while other cultures, looking at the Netherlands for the last 20 years, has a stronger sense of identity. When these technologies are confronting people, do you see a difference of reaction, to some of these surprising things that you observed based on the cultural background?
Yeah, I think there is a technical answer to this question. First, I will talk about the technical AI, that the data itself is becoming scarce. There is scarcity of data. All the data which was available online in the form of, the online libraries, or the things which had been digitalized, online internet crawling or Wikipedia, it has been utilized to train the large language models. Now, for training these large language models, we need more and more data. There is a race going on among these big giants. So, one thing what these companies are doing, they are using synthesized data, synthetic data, and the reinforcement learning, which is causing two different problems, including AI hallucination. Here is a good opportunity for culture, because there is tremendous knowledge available, cultural knowledge, indigenous knowledge, which has not been digitalized. So I see this as an opportunity that in future, these companies, they will try to digitalize that data and utilize it for training their own model, which will ultimately contribute to the preservation of data. So of course, after consuming all these big cultures, then you will go back to the indigenous or smaller cultures and the languages, and then you will try to preserve them as well. So this is a thing which I think that is a positive step, that the digitalization and the data can contribute positively to the preservation of culture. And while they will
Yeah.
collect data, and while they will digitalize this data, of course they will learn more and more about these cultures, and somehow it will become the part of the human history. So there is an opportunity. On the other side, the more philosophical and sociological answer to this question is that it is a good opportunity for the cultures and the individuals also to reflect back at their past, or the knowledge which they have already forgotten, the indigenous let's say the family system, how they used to live. If they have a new family member or the people coming from another part of the world as a refugee or as a host, how would they treat him? And then they can use that instrumental knowledge coming from the culture by for the use of integrating artificial intelligence in their lives, because AI is more becoming as a quasi member of society. And many cultures we have seen, especially if you talk about Asian cultures, even though they are very orthodox in many sense, but they are individuals are not only integrating AI into their daily life, but they are also investing their emotions in them. For example, on and off from Japan, we see that someone is getting married with a hologram, or using them as a monk for the religious rituals and so on. So AI has already become a quasi member of our society, and this cultural understanding, going back to our roots and utilizing that indigenous knowledge and projecting it to our future where AI will be living side by side with humans. I think that it is going to be very beneficial for the culture, for the individuals, and in scientists as well, both from the technical point of view
Yeah.
and from the social science perspective.
So as AI becomes a member of society, what a confrontational sentence that is. I see it. I get it. I guess that this really pulls out the essence of this conversation about AI and I. So if AI is becoming part of a society, and let's grab onto the citizenship. I'm reading a book about the Stoics, from an American author, and in there's some things about citizenship and citizen, to be a citizen, a member of society. Um, of course, you have rights, but you also have duties and obligations. And I'm curious, how will these new entrants into our society, these AIs, live amongst us with some freedoms and some restrictions? Are they equal? Are they not equal? Do they have obligations and do they have rights? Like, how are we going to balance that while still, I hope, holding on to this sacredness of humanity, that essence or that consciousness of humanity? Um, let's just open that up philosophically. Like what happens in your mind when we wrestle with the entrance of AI into our society as active citizens?
Yeah, and I think legally speaking, there have been numerous incidents in the human history when we had this question how to integrate these species or these bodies into our lives and assign them the rights and responsibility. And legal system has been developed in a way to accommodate such thing. I could say a number of examples, some of the contemporary examples of like Amazon getting a legal status, or the Ganges rivers in India getting a legal status, or the Chinese robot manufacturer claiming passport for his wife, and so on. Different legal systems have different approach to these entities to assign them a role which is a pure role of subject of law, because first you have to become the subject of law to get rights and responsibility. A very interesting thing just came in my mind that in the colonial India, the military needs horses, and the Britishers they would assign a piece of land to a farmer, and the farmer could use this land, and this land will definitely yield some money. This money will be used for the horse. So the actual legal owner of this land was the horse, and the farmer was serving the horse. So so there have been number of incidents when we have legally speaking, we have integrated many things into our society, and the things went very well. Now the next problem is that where AI is standing technologically is um, the question is that is AI has become that conscious that it has started realizing his rights and responsibility, If not, then there is no problem. If it has started realizing, then we have to start thinking about this question.
You mean
Our
realize
philosopher,
on its own? I mean, like it
on its
has.
own, that I have rights and
Okay, so
responsibilities.
not
Yes,
programmed
then
rights and responsibilities,
yes,
but it
not
has.
programs or embedded morality into it. Of course, the autonomous decision making is there by the artificial intelligence, but they haven't reached to that extent. Then they can realize that they are making a conscious decision. So I think that it will take some time, and I am very much sure about the human capabilities that by that time they will reach to that level. We will come up with an idea. Our philosophical approach is that we shouldn't be defensive, because the discourse which we hear on internet or the reading in academia is that mostly we take a defensive position, that what humans are going to do when they will start demanding their rights and responsibility. I think that we should make technology our friend, because if there will be a conscious robot who will think that he has rights and responsibilities, I am 100% sure that he will be empathic, he will be soft hearted, he will be thinking about human rights, and he wouldn't claim anything against humans who are the creator of artificial intelligence. So why don't we think positively about them? Why we take a defensive position? So as we go to that point where we have these machines who are conscious, may claim their rights and responsibilities, on the other side, I am sure that they will be much more empathic, much more soft-hearted than humans, because we also, never thought about environment. We never cared about sustainability. We never cared about animal rights. Yes. Now with the passage of time, we have evolved enough that subconsciously we think that this thing is wrong, and it is not directly related to the human but with the other species. So I am very much positive about this, that by that time we will have those machines who will be able to claim their rights and responsibilities.
Well,
Governance will not be a problem.
let me grab onto that to make technology your friend. Maybe they could even be great role models for us to demonstrate more authentic, empathetic humanity than some of us behave towards each other. But I want to layer it with a comment you made earlier about machines becoming more human and humans becoming more machine-like. And I think before we pressed record, you mentioned something like that. And at that intersection, you said, use the word dull. I think like that, like this intersection of where these humanized machines and these machinized humans are interacting is becoming dull. And as a friend of the machines, as the humans, I guess what I'm seeking is there in that space. What does dull mean? How can we make it less dull? And is there something that is purely magical machine that we should maintain in its machineness as it's part of its identity? And is there something that we should seek to maintain as the humanness, not to try to make the machines be, to this sameness that, if the whole world is sameness and the machines and the humans are unidentifiable from each other across the globe, I think it'd be a very boring place. So I'm wondering, like, what did you mean by dull, if I heard that right? And how do you expand that forward? How can we embrace the machines as our friend and celebrate their uniqueness, and we can be our uniqueness and make something really exciting and beautiful together?
This is a very important point, and unfortunately, not many, social scientists are looking into this possibility. So the thing is that applied scientists are designing machines on the patterns how the human works. For example, brain inspired artificial intelligence, or the human machine convergence is the next benchmark which we want to achieve, or some extreme efforts such as cryonics, or installing the human memory into the robotic body. I'm not talking about that, but there are certain things which are decreasing the gap between humans and machines, not cyborgs, but technological adaptations, that certain technologies are becoming as the part of the human body. For example, our mobile phones, we cannot live without them, and so on. So with the passage of time, the threshold where we can see that this is a human and this is a machine, I think that it will decrease, and the benchmark would be much more higher for someone claiming that I am pure human and vice versa. So this is not sci-fi. Actually, the applied scientists are aiming for this thing. Um, but the beauty, or what I think that what will be the pure machine thing and what will be the pure human things, and how we can still coexist and make this world beautiful, is that there are a number of things, and one of the most important thing is that machine will always operate in the physical world. So machines consciousness and the machines operational activities are only about this physical world, but humans have a very rich metaphysics. I'm not talking about religious metaphysics. I'm just talking about the concept of, let's say, before life, even if you don't believe in the afterlife. So, when we talk about the actual difference between the future machines and the future humans, I think that this metaphysical element is impossible to incorporate in someone who is born as an advanced entity. So to put it into the more simple word, that robot operates only in physical world, but our spectrum of understanding of world is unlimited before life and after life, and in between that is physical world. On the other side, humans right now are strongly relying on some of the epistemological resources which are impossible for robots. For example, intuition, or if we go into the religious cultures and revelation, or there are so many other epistemological sources of, even in dreams, or some people think that I was just walking through this the riverside. I took a walk and this idea came into my mind and the apple fall on my head. So these epistemological sources, I think that they are impossible to embed into the robotic body. And this is the point where we can say that machines will have their individual characteristics, that they will operate only in physical world based on those epistemological sources which are very much technical in nature. On the other side, humans will keep expanding their metaphysics based on their before life and afterlife. And if you bring uh, some of the other dimensions to this, for example, different culture approach this physical world differently. For example, they see species which are visible or invisible, and interaction among them, and how different cultures, they have their own view about integration of species
Mm.
into their daily life. So I think that this
Uh,
debate will always stay there, and there
yeah.
there, there will be, yeah, no issue.
If I grab onto that and bring in another couple concepts of God and
Mhm.
alien, um, I've often imagined once it's proven, because it's like statistically probable that there are aliens in the universe, but with these AI machines in our lives, there will now be these sentient or seemingly sentient aliens walking amongst us. And I think what I'm curious about, with your awareness of religion and all the amazing benefits as well as the weaknesses of those structures, um, do you believe we will become more interested in the metaphysical and the God and the reasons and the purpose, um, or would this potentially collapse our confidence in our supremacy of self and the fact that there's a God that's actually paying attention to us in the universe? um, I'm just fascinated about that, to see how these
Yeah.
structures that have been so serving to us over time will adapt and shift, hopefully into something more beautiful in the future.
You are absolutely right. And we earlier discussed about this, that how this indigenous knowledge will be digitalized by applied scientists for developing these machines. So I'm sure that machine will be aware of some of these things. On the other side, if we see in some of the religions, they already have these concepts. For example, the concept of devil you mentioned, demons or jinns. There are species which are much more powerful than the humans, and we have accepted that they are living among us, or we have some sort of connection with them,
Mm,
even though it is true or not, but they have their instrumental knowledge, instrumental contribution to this knowledge of understanding how different species are living among us, or how we interact with them. So this part is pretty much clear. On the other side, I think that this idea that machine will have this sort of understanding, so there is a possibility that machines may also have different types of cultures and different types of views, and some of them will be sympathetic towards the humans and human knowledge, while the others may have a conflicting opinion with the machines, and then they have discussion among themselves, and then they can have a informed opinion like UN, or something like this. So there is a possibility from that dimension also. Uh, I personally think that most of the problems are emerging, especially in this discourse, is that we are not following uh, how the current technology is being manufactured, what are its limitations, and what are some of the benchmarks when we can think that they are going out of control.
mm,
There are some of the things which have been popping up in media on and off on Facebook, or some other in academic articles. We see that AI is taking autonomous decision or so on, but to be very honest, machine is not that advanced at this stage. So
mm,
as I mentioned earlier, it is highly unlikely that they may have this type of thought. um, we have enough knowledge, human knowledge, to overcome any sort of catastrophic event. Even though scholars are talking about existential threats, I don't see it like this, because historically speaking, we have dealt with many issues of similar natures, yeah, and humanity survived. So I am very much hopeful about the future of human society. And my Professor Jijing, he is also the member of UN advisory body. The UN has made an advisory body, so he is one of the members of this UN advisory body. He has an idea that he calls as sustainable AI symbiotic society. So sustainable AI symbiotic society means that historically speaking, we the humans were killing human for the sake of so many things, and then we made peace. Similarly, we never thought about so many other things, as we mentioned earlier, about sustainability, environment, or animal, and so on. Similarly, we should start right now, learn how to live in peace and harmony with an advanced body in the form of AI. Yes, because we will be depending on them and they will be depending on us. So rather than taking a defensive position and thinking so many bad things about them, why not to think
mm.
about some of the positive things? Yes. So this is how we can,
Wow.
yeah.
Let me grab onto that, and we're starting to wrap up. Sustainable symbiotic society, and my question to you comes in three parts, meaning, and it's around policy. So, can you give me and the listeners some advice on policy at my level, so maybe life principle level, as well as professional organization and as well as society? Like, what sort of policies could I adopt in my life and in my space and in my society to ensure this positive, sustainable, symbiotic society? I love that framing happens, so we can be more deliberate and work towards the beautiful and the embracing and the welcoming and the loving of self and other in that society. So like if you just had a bit of advice for individuals that they're walking towards this, as well as organizations that are making decisions on Do I hire a machine or a human, or do I, what do I, these are fundamental decisions that are impacting lives as well as at a society level. So do you have recommendations on policy to help guide us towards a more sustainable symbiotic future?
Yeah, I think in my observation there are two extremes: individuals who are very optimistic and heavily relying on the technology. On the other side, many cultures and many governments, they are treating AI as a machine and not beyond that. Even in China, the Confucius is very much clear about the family, that family is the only one which comes from your mother and father. So it is highly unlikely that the AI will become the part of the family and so on. So the first and the foremost approach to this question is, which I am using for myself as well, is to treat AI as a powerful instrument, but not as a compass or not as a guiding figure to decide on your behalf, or to give you an opinion on your value system, for example, or giving you direction in terms of some of the issues which are very core to the humanity of the human, as you were mentioning, like, for example, matters related to my family or the treatment of my friends and others. So I think that we should keep asking ourselves that, do this align with my values? Yes. And if the answer is no, so then no algorithm should be allowed to direct you to do something, or you should not you know draw yourself to something which is technologically advanced and you think that I can invest my emotions into that because scientists have made this machine. So one of the things which I mentioned earlier is that we need to stay close to the technology. We should understand a little bit about how the technology is being manufactured from technical point of view, and also the limitation of technology, what it can do and what are its limitation. And I think that the things will be very much simple, rather than to just rely on what comes in the media, or chat gpt is doing this, or llms can do this, or ai agents are doing this, and the robots were talking to each other and then they plugged off, these sort of things. If we stay a little bit close to the technology and learn how the technology is being manufactured, how it operates, I think that many things will be clear. And philosophically speaking, I think this is my prism. I see the through the prism of this instrument, that this AI is thinking only about the physical world, only about what has been fed to this in the form of data. But on the other side, I have a superior hand because I am working in a much more broader metaphysical world, and my sources of knowledge are not entirely tokenized information in the form of data, but beyond that. So this makes very much simple for me, and I think that many colleagues who are listening to this can also benefit from this.
So to summarize that, educate yourself so you know that this AI is a machine and it's not some sort of magical muse that can tell you the
Of course.
answers about core life values and decisions. So I guess it comes down with education and proper perspective.
Yes, and I mean we shouldn't reduce the humans into the data points, and we need to honor the relationships. We need to celebrate those things which make us humans, including our families and colleagues and the culture and the religion or whatever the geographical region. And there are so many things in the past which we can use as an instrument to reflect on what can happen in the future society. So you are absolutely right that we need to educate what is happening and re-educate what we have already forgotten, but it was there. So right now, if we start learning more and more about our indigenous knowledge and the cultural knowledge, I think that so many questions which we are discussing today, even among the social scientists and applied scientists in academia, might not be relevant because so many things had happened. We overcome those issues and we integrated them into our lives, and things went perfectly fine.
um, Dr. Ammar Younas, while listening to you, I'm getting excited about the future. Honestly, I'm like, this is a chance for us to create a better future with these new AI friends working with us and walking among us. Thank you so much for your time. In the show notes, I'll put a link to your LinkedIn and the imoconsultants.com. That's AIMOconsultants.com. If people would like to reach out, particularly around policy and other services. Are you providing services to companies that are
Yes, we
resonating
have
with
a
this as well?
full-fledged law firm also, which
Yeah,
is called as IMO Lawyers, and
yeah.
also this IMO Consultant. So we are a law firm. We are working more into the technology, law, cybersecurity, and everything related to Web3, advising governments, non-government organization, corporations about regulatory compliance, and on the other side, working on the data analysis and the market analysis for the businesses as well.
You're living your advice to educate yourself that it is a machine and it's not some sort of magical muse, and you're creating a better future for it. And I think that's inspirational for all of us. So, Ammar, thank you
Yes.
so much for joining. This has been a delight.
Yes, it was an honor to be with you in for this very important discussion, and so many things which I wanted to, record as a part of my, my understanding of the issue, because there are so many things which cannot be measured in terms of the productivity, especially with regard to the AI. But we should measure the things, or we should, calculate the things in terms of the care which we are doing for our close one, and the meaning which we are providing to our life and to the humanity. That matters more than just thoughts which are now being reduced to the mere tokens or the data. This is very important to take from this discussion, I think.
Please subscribe to the podcast and share the episodes.
And visit ebullient.com for help infusing AI into your business while improving the lives of the people who work there.